Welcome back to episode 51 of the Nordic Takedown podcast. Today we are going to talk all about the Oslo PQ, which was on the 15th of February. And today I have Adam with me.
Hello.
And first time on the pod, Jakob Hultman.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Super nice to have you. And it was a pleasure meeting you finally in person.
Yeah, likewise. It's good to get to see people for real. We've only been chatting online, and well, we attended the Malmö Open, but there were so many people there, and yeah.
That was before you guys had casted together as well.
Exactly. So in case any of you guys don't know Jakob, he has been helping out with the live streams, both for Copenhagen and Stockholm PQ, which has been really great. And you also might know him as one of the two Jakobs that Victor likes to mention, great deck builders and players. Previously Boba Green, and now he brought the Jango Green.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's I guess it's a little bit of an old habit of doing the deck tests together. But we know each other from way back and have a little bit of the same mindset when it comes to building decks. So it's always good to have a deck building partner.
Yeah. All right. So then quickly about the agenda of today. We will keep the topic mainly on the PQ and maybe end with some spoiler talk because we have gotten some very interesting cards lately. But first, I have to get this out of the way. Adam, the 2-time, congrats.
Thank you.
How can you stay humble? That's the biggest question. How can you stay humble at this point?
I don't know. I'll just keep my head down and just don't write things. Just take all the feedback and just don't comment on anyone. That was really fun. Like winning this second one was like a lot more relaxed. I felt like already in game one when I lost to you, Jacob. I felt like, all right, at least I won in Stockholm, so it's not as much pressure. Like I felt like insane pressure in every Swiss round in Stockholm until because obviously we were 64, so there was very low chance of making a 4-2. So until I won the fifth game, I was like, whew. And then like insane like games in quarters and stuff. So this tournament was really like a lot less stressful, which meant that I felt like I had quite a lot of energy going into the final compared to like calm energy. I was more excited for the first one in the Stockholm, and now I was more calm. Like, all right, if I lose this, I have my champion, Matt. It's so I played relaxed. It was nice.
Yeah. Okay, so then we usually have the round what we've been up to since last week, but I think today we're going to skip it and we can rather get to know Jakob a little bit more. So, Jakob, I've heard this is not your first card game, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think my journey of if you can sort of say competitive card game playing started I think 2013. That's actually a funny coincidence. It's the first time that I met Adam, actually. We both played in a tournament of a card game called Game of Thrones, the living card game in Lincoln, in Linköping, in Sweden.
Yeah, that's true.
And,
I did not go well. You did go way better at that tournament. Didn't you win that?
Yeah, I won that.
Wasn't it the Swedish championship?
Yeah, it was the Swedish championship. So it was the first Swedish championship in that game. And, we were a small crew of, I think, maybe 20, 25 people or something like that. And, managed to win that. And that sort of got my hands bloody in that game and really enjoyed playing that. And that escalated a bit a few years later when we were a crew in Stockholm where I lived, and also here on the west coast of Sweden, who traveled quite a lot. So we went to the World Championships in Minnesota in Fantasy Flight Games headquarters 2015, and
Cool.
I managed to sneak in a win at the World Champs there. So
a win of the whole thing.
Yeah. So you're talking to a world champion.
What?
So that was that, and also managed to sneak in a win at the European Championships in Germany the other year. So I into the really small community of people who played the Game of Thrones living card game know me by my face, because I have designed 2 cards for that game, who is dead now. So that was the ultimate prize for winning the World Championship and the European Championship.
So you have your face on one of those cards?
Yeah, exactly. One of the cards is an unnamed card, because you weren't allowed if you designed a card with a named person, you weren't allowed to have your face on that card. So I designed a sort of there's no equivalent really in Star Wars, but there was more of like a location or like an event card sort of, which was called The King in the North, and that was me chugging a beer. And then I did a design for a character called Beric Dondarrion from Game of Thrones, and then he was there, and there was a lot of bearded people behind him. So I did 2 cards there. But the game is dead. But I have a world champ mat from that game, so that's nice. Cool. And that's basically my gateway into competitive card gaming. And then I've been dipping my toes into mostly Fantasy Flight game card games after that point as well. I haven't been as invested into Destiny as I know that you guys and that Adam you've been as well. But I bought a box, played over the kitchen table for quite a bit, and then as soon as Star Wars Unlimited came, there was an itch in me that started to itch again. And,
it was just the right timing.
It was great timing in life, so to say, and I've missed it. So that's a little bit about me, and
nice.
I'm
great to have you back playing cards.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start by introducing a bit about the Oslo PQ. It was 33 players, right?
I think it started up with 35 in Melee, but some people dropped, but I think it was a 35 in the end.
So we had to play 6 rounds. Some people were happy, some were not, but it was a long day.
People would have been happy if it wasn't for the delay that you will talk about, but
So first and foremost, it was hosted at Midgard Games Oslo. So we had Rune talk a bit about the space and the store, and it's kind of strange, or not that usual maybe, because it's more of a gaming space, kind of community driven. You can have a membership there, so you have access to the place. It's collaborating a lot with the Oslo Miniature Games Club, so it's kind of a different space. It doesn't really feel like a store, but they also have a store in a neighboring city. So they had cleared out a lot of space, and actually there were 2 tournaments there in the day. So we had both Flesh and Blood, Road to Nationals, and the Stars Unlimited PQ. But I think it went pretty well, even though we were 60, 70 people in the venue.
It was a little bit crowded, but
it felt like we were when we arrived, and we discussed that a little bit. People dropping in, and we said, "Wow, there's so many people gonna play Star Wars," until we realized, no, there are actually gonna be 2 tournaments in this venue. But I think the ventilation started at 1, and people were happy after that point.
So we also had like a pretty nice stream table in the inner corner of the venue. Got the nice mats out, and the only problem was there was no Wi-Fi. So sorry guys to you who watch the stream. You will get to hear and see Victor in high resolution, but the feed is a bit blurry now and then. So hopefully next time we will be able to set up some.
I watched it back and it wasn't that bad to watch. Like I think it was maybe worse for the casters because they don't have that as big screen. Because like I know that Jonas, when he had problems seeing cards, but I saw the cards.
Okay.
So I think obviously they were not clear picture, but I think like they also did a good job describing, because I put on the stream when I was driving my car home from from Costa till Värnamo, for the last 2 hours, and I just like listened to the pod, and I really understood about most of the things that was going on. So they did a great job like filling in if there was problems watching.
Yeah, and we did the same actually in the car, because basically we drove back during spoilers when you were playing, Adam, in the end of the tournament. We were driving in the car back, and we had that on, and I was driving, so I didn't look at the screen. But all kudos to Victor and the crew who were doing the casting of that and commentating. It made it stand out of the screen, definitely, like you were saying, Adam.
Yeah. How was it watching my final game? Because I couldn't rewatch it for some reason.
I'm so happy I did, because apparently you can't anymore. So it was really, really good. I don't think the last game was the easiest to follow, but they were saying back and forth how this is over. No, this is not over. No, this is over. No, this is not over.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, we had a stream, and we should of course give big thanks to Victor for an incredible 13-hour stream or something like that.
Yeah, something like that was the end.
And count. We had Dragonfly. Is that Marcus or Magnus? Magnus.
Yep.
Magnus on in the beginning, then Jonas from Denmark, and then we had Jeff from the Boston Network and Loopy from Late Night Gaming.
Yeah.
So a great gang of co-casters as well.
Yeah, really nice to get like people from every corner. Like we had Swoop Racers and Thork, and like now these guys.
Yeah.
Nice to see the community work together, even if all people have their own channels. Like, no pride, basically.
And you would assume that Victor doing the Copenhagen PQ and being quite exhausted afterwards, being like, no, maybe not this again. But it's like a drug, isn't it, Jonah? You did it for the Stockholm one.
Yeah. I have to say the Stockholm one was a lot easier to endure than the Cantina Brawl, which was the first long stream I did. Just like being mentally prepared and a bit more trained in the
arts of
to have the endurance. So it's really fun, but of course a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to do one myself at some point, but it has to be sometime where I can't travel and still can't do it. I'm not sure when that happens. Or you could
travel and cast in person.
I want to win. Maybe if I feel like I can't win, then
maybe you need to host a tournament, Adam, where you are not allowed to play.
Yeah, and then get another one to judge it. Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Yeah. And then just to address the last game, sadly not being in the VOD, which was because YouTube has a 12-hour limit on automatically saving the stream, which we sadly weren't aware of. But now we've learned our lesson, so we will definitely make sure that everything gets saved in future streams.
Yeah.
All right, then. So let's maybe look a bit at what was played, because we have a bit of statistics from the day.
Yeah.
Let me see here. 16 different leaders. with the most played being Cad Bane and Jango. Not that surprising to the people playing in Oslo. There's been like easily the most popular leaders there. Then we had 4 Sabines, like 5 Cad Bane, 5 Jangos, 4 Sabines, 3 Bosk, 3 Quinlan, 3 Han 1, and then going down a lot of 2s and 1s. And actually a pretty big chunk of off-meta decks, like more casual.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, of course, performing really well was a lot of the meta decks, but there were a few off-meta decks sneaking in there, performing really well as well.
Yeah,
and and alongside that, I think it's a pretty diverse field with the having 16 different leaders and the most popular one being just 5 of them. So I would say, just purely looking at this PQ, super fun tournament and healthy meta in terms of diversity.
And especially considering among the 5 Cad Banes, I think 1 was green and 1 was blue. And among the 5 Jangos, we had the green Jango.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Not everyone's going to Tarkintown.
Yeah.
I think also the bases was kind of cool that we had 3 like very non-meta bases in Security Complex, Pau City, and Patriarchy Arena. So people were like choosing these crazy things all over.
Yeah. And I have to give a shout out to the Security Complex there. There was a player from Iceland actually playing Blue Tarkin. So that was pretty cool. I think there was a group of 5 or 6 Icelandic players.
Yeah, I played him.
Yeah,
I played the Blue Tarkin. Was he Icelandic? I thought he was from. I thought he was from Norway. Okay,
that's cool.
So it was super nice to meet them, and I didn't know they were gonna come at all. So I was like super surprised.
Yeah, it was really cool to see like a whole gang coming from Iceland. I guess it's the closest place to go to. I think coming to Norway, but so Oslo really having an important location place to get people to PQs.
Yeah. All right, and then also, I don't know if we mentioned it. Huge thanks to Lasse for being a great head judge and doing a great job. As Adam mentioned earlier, there were some delays because Melee just didn't work as it was supposed to. So luckily, Jason tipped Lasse about calling Matthias and getting help because he has a lot of experience with Melee, being a head judge himself. And then he got in touch with more people, and then it actually ended up being people at Melee having to fix the issue. So at one point there were like people in 4 different countries on the phone and trying to figure out.
They were moving results from one tournament to a new tournament in Melee. It was crazy. And also Lasse was mentioning just before we started that he was supposed to have a co-judge as well, who apparently canceled last minute. So. Great kudos to Lasse. It was so smooth and calm all day, despite all the stress.
Yeah. He was. He had amazing nerves. Let's say that.
Yeah.
I just want to make a correction because I can't stay too humble. It was my idea to call Matthias.
okay, that's good.
Because Lasse actually tried to. Ask me about I knew about Melee, and I was like, I know a little bit, and then he mentioned the problem. I was like, okay, this is way over my head. We need an expert. Really glad that they worked it out, even though it took time. But really good, by the community to not be mad or everyone understood that this was not on Lasse or it wasn't anyone actually who screwed up either of the participants either. It was just the program.
Yeah.
And I know as well that we discussed very briefly that there were some technicalities that happened directly after round 1 because apparently there was someone who got the wrong result, or there was a drop. There was someone who joined after the first round and then they didn't get the right result. Like there was something like that, and then it came back to a lot of people that there was a scenario during set 2, I believe, where there was somebody in an international tournament where Melee was messing up things, and it became this huge rant online and a story. And when you have that in the back of your mind, you really don't want to have such a scenario in a PQ here. And based on that, this was handled really well. Like, of course, there was delays, but everybody was happy in the end.
So that was unfortunate, of course. That's it happened, but great that it resolved and we could continue playing. And then I would also like to actually give a bit of a shout out to the Oslo players, because as you know, I'm the Norwegian in the podcast, so it's kind of my local community, and I feel like it was just really nice being there, kind of being a bridge between those people I know from that community and you guys in the bigger Stars community per se. So I thought
everybody was so nice.
Yeah. Thought we could just go through the top 8 and mention that by name. So as we already said, we had Allan on first place.
Woo!
Yeah. And then Kamalisk, Allan, who's really good at brewing up weird decks. He's been famous for his Padme Blue, actually, in the local scene, playing cards that nobody knows. Like, whenever he plays a card, you have to pick it up and read it. Like, huh? What's this?
I know that feeling.
Republic synergy here. Yeah, he was rocking the Obi-Wan Blue, got second. Then we had Hyrax Jonathan from Skövde, playing the boss green, top 4.
Yep.
And Tower Hillier, Magnus, local Oslo player, he was playing a Cad Bane Tarkintown list. And this one was actually not the usual one, per se.
No. It was a very interesting list, like getting to see it after. I had seen the Vader's lightsaber, like when I walked around sometimes, and I was like, okay, that's like cool. But like it was way more than just the Vader's lightsaber in that deck. That was innovative.
Oh, yeah. It was super nice talking to him, and he was really excited about some of his deck choices and explaining why he had them there, and calling the meta really well. And it seemed like generally the Oslo meta is really both competitive but also creative, and they really play a lot. Like, it seemed like a lot of those players meet up twice or even 3 times a week just to play.
Yeah, and on the topic of him, Magnus, like I know I was at Norway in set 1 for like store showdowns, and he smashed me with Han Blue in one of the games when I was there. I think I was going with Boba Green at the time. And like was really surprised that deck even worked. So the creative stuff has been like there from the beginning.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so if you're not in the Discord, you should definitely join so you can take a look at the list. And it should also be on the Seoul Competitive Hub. He plays a lot of one-offs and some interesting cards like a grenade. What's it called? Grenade Strike. To deal with Jango, or cards like Lux Bonteri to deal with cheating in cards. With now there are 2 of them, or triple dark raids.
He was, his eyes were burning when he was explaining about that, and he was so excited. Like, I found this tool that has such an answer to these cards, and
and it makes sense why he was excited, because with that meta, with Jangos and other Cads, like they cheat all the time with triple dark raid, and like now there's 2 of them.
Absolutely.
So that was really fun seeing him do great in the tournament.
Yeah, he was 5-0 until he lost his last round, so he was close to 6-0.
And then in the top 8, we have Steven, as you know from the podcast, playing the Cad Bane Blue still. A lot of changes, actually. Pretty cool tech with what was it? I remember there was something against Jango. Let me just refresh my memory. I know he plays more vigilance now, which makes sense. But also relentless pursuit to capture those raiders. That's really good because Cad Bane is a 6 cost, right?
Yeah.
So you can capture a raider, get the shield on Cad Bane leader. That's really nice.
Yeah.
And then the rest of top 8 was Jakob that we have here. You can get to talk more about your run and the super cool Jango Green build later. And then 2 other Oslo players, Jesper. He's been doing really great consistently in showdowns and so forth, playing Jango TT. And then Jonathan, one of the younger players in the community, also playing Cad Bane Tarkintown. And Jonathan actually attended the Stockholm PQ as well.
Yeah, that's true.
With his dad and little brother Alvin.
Yeah, they did a decent showing there as well. Obviously, it was better for him here because he made a cut. So improvements in between. I did not get to really. I think I saw them at the Stockholm, but it was way more people there, so it was a lot. But he was positively chatty. It was easy to talk to. Like sometimes younger people can be a little bit shyer, but this was like we had our Swiss round. We played in the 6th Swiss round, I think, him and I, and like it was. I've never been so smashed as in that game one. Like it went so fast, but no, super cool guy, and he's like. With that so young, he's going to be, if he keeps playing card games for the next 5-10 years, he's going to be so good. That is for sure.
Yeah, and you played him in the last round of Swiss, and to his, even raise him even more is that I think he went 4-0 before he ran out of steam and lost the two last rounds of Swiss. So at one point he was 4-0, and I think he had steamrolled most of his opponents at that point.
Yeah. He had. I think he had beaten both Jason, Mick, and Jonathan from Skövde, all 3. So pretty solid opponents as well. Everyone had been talking about how he's been smashing them, and now there's 2 of them, and that is weird that I just didn't respect it in the last game. Like I didn't even think about it. And then it was like, okay, here it is, and I'm the target now. So like he had played against a lot of good players, because since he went 4-0, he had the best strength of schedule, I think, of the 4-2s.
Correct.
And then he got to face Magnus again, who actually had the text for the matchups and stuff. In a way, so too bad for him that he lost to him twice.
So it was also he was very close to making it to the top 4. Very close series against Magnus there, and a bit unfortunate going out with a judge call, but that's the way it is, and it's of course super annoying to have played that well and then have to go out on a slight mistake that sadly can't be taken back, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, and we don't need to go into the details more than that. It basically was, a ruling that, one person wasn't aware of, and then the judge came in and said, yeah, that's how it is. And then, it's unfortunate, but it's the competitiveness of the PQ demands that basically. So it was the right thing, but it's unfortunate, like you're saying, Jonah. At that point, you just want the game to proceed as you would want it to.
Like I also had judge call in my game. It happens. So,
and then that was the top 8. But maybe now elephant in the room. I'm not there. No!
We're missing you. Where were you?
I was playing Jango Tarkintown on the day.
Down.
You have to go far down on LA for me. No, I was playing Jango Tarkintown, so I knew going into the day a new deck for me, a lot of variants in the deck. So wasn't feeling the most comfortable, but I would say the tournament went pretty well. I started off against Quinlan, which was a very close series actually, because he did play some 1-drops, and I feel like if you have built Quinlan a bit for Jango, it's favored for Quinlan. So it very much depends if you can draw the 1-drops or 2-drops depending on what you need. Which is mostly 1-drops if you're playing against the Swoop Racers Jango version. And then second round, I paired up against Jesper. So that's the problem, of course, with playing Jango Tarkintown when it's one of the most popular decks. You're bound to have some mirrors. And I think the first game didn't play too well, and second, he just drew better than me, so I lost that 2-0. And then my second loss was to none other than the world champion.
Yeah, the king of Swiss.
Of another card game.
Yes. Yeah. So Jakob's Jango Green just totally smashed me. Like the most one-sided series of the day for me. Yeah.
So it was unfortunate for you, but yeah,
I think
it was quite
game one. I just had the worst start because you Sabined me and then Bezined, and then I was like, I have to play my Stormtrooper, but then I kind of have to daring raid to get rid of that Bazine, and so just spent all my resources to just leave one Stormtrooper on the board. Guess what Jakob plays the next turn? P38.
Yeah.
And the turn after that, you managed to get something else out. What do I play? Another P38.
Yeah. So that
Jakob, you were on a real tear and just smashed some Nordic takedown people this Swiss round. Jonah was only one of the victims.
I managed to find you all, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up 4-2 and ended 10th seed with a strength of schedule. So there were 4-2 players making it in, and 4-2 players not making it in. So sadly, I was one of the unlucky ones. But can't do much about it except win more, I guess.
Win earlier.
Yeah.
Or more, of course.
Yeah. But I had a great day. It was just a blast being there. And actually, I was pretty happy about Allan barely making it in the top 8, because I had spoken to him earlier in the day when we considered trying to get someone else on stream than the top table. And I had seen he played a double blue deck, and I was like, oh, that could be cool. It's very different than what we've seen in the meta so far. But we didn't find the way to get him on stream. And then, finally, now he's actually table 1. So
and then he got 3 games on stream.
Yeah.
Basically, the top cut became like Allan's run. Like that's
Yeah. Okay, so that was my day summed up. Maybe Jakob, you want to tell us a bit about your deck choice and games?
Yeah, please start with the deck choice, like since it's not that ordinary.
Yeah, of course. I played Jango Green with a 30 HP base, and full credit to my deck building partner Jakob in Uppsala. We basically, in the previous set, we played a lot of Boba Green in different ways. That's what we took to Malmö Open, for example. We played Boba ECL, and ECL being a really good choice for a few characters, a few units in the previous set. Of course, with ECL as Succus gives you a good advantage. You can also ECL a Boba unit into an already exhausted unit, which is like super good. Gives you the versatility of doing things like that. You can even ECL Fet's Fire Spray and doing a double attack during one round. There's such a versatility there. Going into this set, we actually jumped over to the Jango leader before the Boba suspension, feeling that the Jango actually were doing really well against Boba. Like, of course, the ping on the Boba unit with a shield or with the armor doesn't do much, but generally there's such a high tempo play possible with the Jango. So we got stuck with Jango quite early. Tried it, of course, with the green, and then we started over with the red because we played some Boba red by the end of the last sets. So going into the PQ season, we were basically stuck on, we're going to play Jango. And we were doing Jango Tarkintown, trying to find some ways into that, and we had some really nice techs. Actually, we played Adam in the Cantina Brawl. That's where I played Jango TT. Myself really loved the Count Dooku unit, for example. Can give you so nice plays when you exploit a Ruthless Raider and a P-38 for smash damage across the board and then pinging, like. But and then we tried the Swoop Racer version a little bit by the end, which is something that's close to what you were playing, I believe, Jonah, in Oslo. But I didn't really like how it ran out of steam against certain matchups, and you could, you play all of your cards and then you sit in top deck quite early. And so I wasn't really comfortable with my playing style of playing that. So we went back to green quite heavily as well. Well, we'd already been sort of trying that out, but realized that there are so many good matchups for this. This one eats Jango Tarkintown most of the time. It was spinning on all cylinders when I was playing against you, Jonah, but it has such tempo plays going wide. You have so many key cards with overwhelming barrage that can go across all areas. You also have really nice plays with, now there are two of them, into green as well, starting off with the obvious things of, we sort of realized that the play that you were explaining, Adam, where the CAD Tarkintown we're playing now, there are two of them for when you are at 3 resources, cheating in a Zuckus, for example.
Yeah.
That's one thing, but we felt like the most powerful way to use that and utilize this in green is to go from 5 to 7.
I felt that.
So that means that means that when you are at 5 resources, the goal of this deck was basically to go as fast as you can up to 7 resources, and then you just own the game, because you have so many big threats and you can go so wide. However, you can cheat when you're at 5 resources, and you don't even need a board for that, because you can either have an underworld unit, or you can just have a clean board, flip Jango, and then you have an underworld, so you can cheat out Maul for 5. So Maul unit for 5, and then Jango basically eats the damage, and you don't really care about your Jango leader being deployed. It's nice, and he's got good health, but he's not the most important stuff in your deck, which gives a lot of spotlight for some players that I need to kill the leader, and you don't really care that much about that. There are also nicer plays of maybe you can cheat out a Cad Bane unit, which is what I did against you, Jonah. On the 5 resource, you had 2 shielded units.
Exactly.
Which he captured.
I was so happy I didn't have the 1-drops this time. I was like, he's not gonna P-38 me this time. I have my Crafty Smuggler. I have my 7-Fleet Defender. What happens? Resupply it. Now there are 2 of them. Cad Bane capturing both.
Yeah. And that's so nice, and because when they come back, they are not considered being played, so they don't get the shields back, because shields is what Jango hates the most.
Yeah.
So there are some really nice plays there. Of course, I'm in the last 2 weeks or so tweaked it a little bit to also include more Imperial stuff. So you have Colonel Yularen, you have some seasoned shore troopers as well, which means that you can go from 5 to 7 with a Darth Vader unit as well. With now there are 2. So there are some versatility there. maybe unorthodox to play 2 Devastators in the main deck as well, but we felt that once again, when you get to 7 resources plus, if you are there, you can really compete against the blue control decks with this deck as well, with this main. So yeah, it's definitely a different deck, but it suits my playstyle, and yeah, it's really fun deck choice. And I felt like in the end of the tournament, even though I got to play my nemesis twice in this tournament with Allan, the double blue, which I had not expected at all, with lots of healing and shields and restore and everything there, which just ate up my deck. I had a tough match against Adam in the first round, which I won 2-1, and then I drew against Allan in the round 2, and the rest of the 4 Swiss rounds I went 2-0. I had and I played Jango TT, I played CAD TT, I played Palp Yellow, which I beat main deck 2-0, and then Quinlan TT with Jason I beat as well with his deck. So I mean, I felt like the meta was really in my favor in terms of that, so I wouldn't really make any changes going into another tournament with this deck.
No, I agree. Like that was like a pretty good meta call, because I feel like it's also pretty good into Han yellow, because I know I will never do my 7th round. Like the 5th round, like Jango Tarkintown is maybe a little bit worse, but just Jango in general is such a problem for Han. And like, since you go higher, you're not as sad of me dropping a crafty smuggler early. That is not that big of a power play like it is versus a target town that I can start racing. So, and you could even go even harder against Han Yellow if you want to, and have scanning officers in the side if someone wants to. So like, the deck works really well, especially now when a lot of the hard control is out of the meta and you don't really have to think about it, because I can see the deck struggling a little bit against a Bosk blue or maybe a Palpatine yellow, especially like if you don't run like Relentless in sideboard and stuff. But like in this meta, there was, I don't think, except maybe Allan, there was not many control players.
No, I played against a Palp Yellow, which I managed to do my favorite play against, which is basically in the second game I sideboarded in my another copy of CAD Bane unit, and then he stole my Vader unit with the Palp flip, and I played CAD and captured my own unit. So basically, if he trades with CAD, I get a Vader back. So there are so many nice plays which you can play against that as well. You can basically capture your own. He steals it, you capture it back, and then it's a plus for you.
That's a smart play. I have never thought of that. Maybe because I don't play that much CAD. That's smart.
No, there's some tricky plays that you can do there, which is really nice. But it's we played the Geonosis three times the Geonosis spaceship, basically for the tech DJ thing. I didn't get to use that against you, Adam. I think you DJ'd me once later, and that was basically more of a race then. But it has some plus, or at least it has a chance against a lot of the decks in the meta, and that's what I really like. Higher percentages there. But like you said, Jonah, I went out against Allan in the top 8, and that's a sad story you can watch on stream. It was super one-sided. At one point,
you didn't draw well.
He had a 15. I think he had a 15 health Obi-Wan leader with a shield. He basically played the forces with me on him. I mauled him twice, and then Palpatine's return for a third maul.
And you hit him with a CAD.
And then I hit him with a CAD to steal his redemption. And still it wasn't close at all.
It was fun watching Victor. It's like Jakob is not really drawing his top end, and I was like, hasn't he played 3 mauls and a CAD? It's just that Obi is so huge. He's like, there is not a lot of top end left in his deck. It's like only Devastator left.
Exactly.
But it felt like you didn't get your top end because they barely scraped him. right?
Yeah, it was very, very one-sided. And all credit to Allan. He played really well. He saw the lines and he was doing well. And his deck was, I mean, it was absolutely built to beat my deck. So,
I was actually super bummed out that you guys had to face so early, because during the Swiss rounds, looking around, you were kind of my bet for who was going to take the whole tournament from the meta perspective. Like, okay, Adam, like, no, but like Jakob had already beat you.
yeah.
So, and then having to face like basically a counter, right? I even spoke to Allan earlier in the day when I was asking him about the deck. He was like, "Yeah, I really like this and this and this. For instance, if I play against green yellow, I know they can't kill my Obi-Wan. Like, there's no cards in those. They have to attack with units. And then when you play Midnight Repairs, you can make sure he doesn't die."
And like when he's played Midnight Repairs the first time, it's like, can I see that card, please?
Yeah.
Who plays that? And I tried to explain to Adam, he plays Midnight Repairs.
Yeah.
And Adam's like, what did he play? What did you say?
Yeah, I had to, like, his sideboard was also very weird. So I was like, when we were looking deck list, I was like, can I just get your sideboard so I don't have to ask you so much?
Yeah.
And he was just handing it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That final was also really fun to watch in person, because Allan was chit-chatting a bit and Adam was like responding a bit to the jokes, like sarcastically, like, "Oh, yeah, another redemption," or like
Yeah, but like he was so happy, and you know, because he and almost everyone in the room, I think, thought that he was gonna win that game one at some point. And I was like, he is so happy because he knows he has me, and I was like, but I know you don't, because your Obi-Wan is dead. And like you have like basically no way to win this game versus me without Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
As long as you don't get a unit that starts hitting too much.
That's the thing. Essentially, the deck is a Voltron deck. Obi-Wan is the win condition. Yeah. So if you lose Obi-Wan, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, he was chatting quite a bit during our top 8 as well. I was so concentrated. It must have been so boring for him to play, because I was a wall. I didn't respond to anything what he was saying. And then by the end, when he had me in the end of game 2, well, it was over 5 or 6 rounds earlier. But I mean, he was dragging out, and he was playing so safe all the time just to make sure. And then, like, by the end, he had this huge armada of people or units, and then he plays out Finn again, like the unit Finn, which I had bounced, and he was like, "Here comes Finn. He loves to be here as well." And like, just finish me, please.
Finish me.
Yeah. Oh, so clean.
Yeah. Sad that the footage is gone, so we didn't get to see Finn's debut on a PQ final.
Oh.
But we know it's
because he played it game 2. Yeah, he played it game 2. Yeah, final. It wasn't a great showing for Finn, but in the final. But he was there. He was there.
Yeah. He watched at least, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of my run. I want to hear more about Adam's run.
Yeah, sure. Let's go. Like, it was actually kind of funny. Like, I'm usually quite, like, in Unlimited, I've been quite lucky not drawing like the top players in round 1. It's not that likely, but like at some point it's gonna happen. I was like, oh, Jakob, and I have already played against that Jango green in your, like, the other Jakob in like a Swedish league thing, and I was like, this is not a great matchup. Like, this is gonna be so tough, so much brain power in round 1.
Yeah,
and it was like, rewatching the stream, like as Victor were talking about, like, oh, they are not done yet, and they were like, Adam can play Sabine because Jakob is really managing his time. And I was like, there is no way I play Sabine and it's going this long. Not even versus Jakob. This is a grindy matchup. And like, won game 1, which didn't feel like I was gonna win. I felt way more safe in, I think it was game 2 or 3, where I like completely stopped your play for a round.
That was 3.
Yeah, game 3. That was, I thought it was so locked and secured. But I think you did you seen me or something to turn it around?
Yeah, and I think it was a point of where you had presence in space with double falcons, and I had nothing there.
Yes.
And I know you also had a surprise strike on hand. I think I knew that afterwards. So I think you were having so much strength on board.
Yeah.
And then I played a Vader to basically get out the P-38 to ping you.
Yeah.
And then get some control. So I ran over like Akira, pinged your Han leader, and then all of a sudden I had
that
presence.
had 5 damage on it. So he cut my Kira and my Han.
Yeah,
stuff.
and had two more units on board to kill your 2 units, and then all of a sudden I had a better board.
Yeah, and you got your fire spray out, which was your timely intervention, the fire spray, to kill my Falcon or something like that. I think it was something that was really. I don't remember exactly, but it was a timely intervention coming at some point that did some really annoying work. But it might have been game 2.
You don't play timely, right?
No,
What?
I don't
Who
play
was
timely. I don't play timely, but I'm trying to figure out what it was, but it was a Falcon.
Like a timely.
I basically took down one of your Falcons, and then all of a sudden my board strength was so strong, and you had to.
Yeah, I had to rely on you, like going too greedy on my base, like to get a smuggled unit up so I could end. But you played it really like calm and collected, and just made a little stronger board for every round, basically. And in the end, I was like, now I have to gamble because you're just smashing my face. And win this round.
So you were very, very close to winning all the time. You were something like 7 or 8 from.
I was like 1 action from if you just messed up.
Yeah.
But you did it. So that was a very fun game, I would say. After that, I did like the submarine thing. I faced... what was it? I faced like... started with CAD Tarkintown versus... I'm not sure how experienced of the player it was, but he played a little bit slow. So I felt like we are not going to make 3 games of this because I don't beat CAD Tarkintown that fast. I have to play it controlly. So I'm glad I won that 2-0 with some time over, but I don't think we would have managed a game 3. Then I got to play the youngest kid, I think, that was there that played Rex.
Alvin. Oh, yeah. Mats, I think he's called.
Okay, yeah. Which was nice. I was sitting there chatting with his dad a little bit because the English, Norwegian, Swedish lingo became a little bit rough, which I understand. I am very bad at understanding Norwegian, but we made it work. So won that as well. Then I got to play, the Icelandic guy that we talked about. That was playing Tarkin Blue. Which was some very interesting games because he played like I said this to you guys. Like I was like had watched Thork's video when he said it's basically just Kira or Krennic. That was not true in this case. Like he played a lot more Imperial. I played like crosshairs and stuff. So my approach to the game was a little bit like off. And he managed to have like this big crosshairs that was 6'11". That he made a misplay going to base after I had played Enfys Nest with another unit. So I just found a hotshot blaster and managed to bounce him. Otherwise, that game was so over. So that was fun, but it was very interesting playing these a little bit off meta decks. Then I got to play Steve-O with his CAD Blue, which is a really nice matchup for me in general. And it was like I think I DJ'd him both games, so he was having fun.
It's so rough generally for any 6+ deploy leaders to play against Han Yellow. Because you can do so much damage to them.
Yeah, like I basically just need to play like I have DJ, so they have to respect it. And like if I don't have it, I just play a Han or Emphys or a Falcon and then they have like wasted all their time like trying to not get DJ'd. So like, but this time I DJ'd him because he didn't really have answers for DJ. So he like played a unit for 5, and I was just, okay, I just go out and DJ you, and then like we take the game from there.
I think that's such a note on, you know, playing your opponent and playing your opponent's deck and what it performs, is that when I played against Allan in the top 8, he obviously knew my sideboard, and he knew I'm not playing waylays in my main deck, and I'm playing 2 waylays in my sideboard. So game 1, he played, because he played Jedi Lightsaber, and he also played Electro Staff, and during game 1, he was playing them on all types of different units, like Yodas, you know, the quills and everything. And then, you know, after the game, he was saying, why didn't I didn't see a single waylay in game 2. And I'm like, I didn't sideboard them in. And he was like, why don't you do that? You saw that I was playing all of the sabers on the units. And I'm like, yeah, but you already know that. So in game 2, you're probably not playing your upgrade on those units, because why would I bounce your units? They're just small and ugly. I don't want to bounce them with waylay. So it's a little bit of, now he won the game straight anyway, but I think there's a point of what you're saying, Adam, is like, you play the game as if your opponent need to respond to what they think you're doing. So it's such a powerful thing to have a weapon even though you don't utilize it, right?
It's one of the biggest strengths of the Han in general.
It's so you should always think you're gonna be DJ'd, or you have 3 hotshot blasters in your smuggle row, or you have 3 surprise strikes in your hand. You always need to think about that when you're playing against Han Yellow.
Yep. That was so it's really tough, especially then when you're a deck that is kind of weak as well against it, the Cad Blue is, because it's hard to just pinch down, and I can just start going for his hand in the beginning as well. Like, I have so many options to play him, and he cannot really put that much pressure some other decks can. But that was fun. It was the first time we had played. But like, maybe it was lucky it wasn't on stream. Jonah wanted Steven on stream that game, but he was like, if we face, I'm not going up, because he had that feeling that it was not going to be pretty. Then in the 6th round, I played Jonathan. We talked about his Tarkintown CAD before. He was smashing through the 4-0 first, and then went down to Magnus, and then we were sitting on table 2, so we were kind of both by like, we're going through like as 4-2s, especially him, because he had like very good strength. So that was a chill game, even though he smashed me the first round. Then in the top 8, I got to play Jesper, which was also fun, because I don't think I've been at like 3 tournaments with him, but never got to face him, because there was that weird thing in Oslo when we were both 4-0, and Challenge at the time wanted him to play a 3-1 and me to play the 0-4. so we like dodged each other, and then we didn't face in the top cut because Jonah knocked me out. I think you're muted, Jonah.
Thanks.
If you were trying,
I just said oof.
Yeah, I wanted to get that in, like, and then in the semifinals, I got my opponent, the Jonathan from Skövde. We always face somehow, almost in every tournament.
That's a good thing for you.
Yeah, because he won the first time we faced, and after that I won every time. This time it was a lot closer. He always plays boss green, basically. So he started with Vader green in set 1 and just evolved it to boss green, and like kept boss green. So he's like playing it a little bit better every time we face. So it's getting a little bit closer. But like, I also play a lot, so I know how to attack his deck, because it's the same a little bit. And I was also helping a little bit with changing it this time, so I knew some things to be scared of. But that's an interesting matchup. Went 2-1 because he dunder smacked me in game 1 because I did one small misplay, which you cannot do against boss green.
Oh yeah,
like
very punishing deck.
Yeah, like I had seen his hand, and then I just forgot that Merciless Contest that he could play it. I was like, oh, and now I keep my Falcon and dodge the arena so I can bounce his Super Laser Technician. And he was like, I just play Merciless Contest, kill both, and I was like, now I cannot play Surprise Strike on my Falcon, so I play nothing for 4 and goes to next round. But yeah, ended up beating it 2-1. And then it, of course, was Allan in the final that we'd already touched a bit on.
Yeah.
So a little bit is on the stream, but it was... he was fun to play against, even though, like, when you're having this tough, it's when you're behind, it's always a little bit rough playing against someone that's so cheerful. When you just can't be cheerful yourself, because you have to think so much. But I can be that guy like he is. When I'm feeling like everything is going my way, I can be the exact same way. So like nothing, like, you are supposed to enjoy it when you're doing well. Like why wouldn't you? So really fun to play, by the way, against Obi Blue. Like, it helped a little bit that everyone like had faced him a step at a time. So I like had heard a little bit. I was like, I knew going into like Obi-Wan cannot get upgrades. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And as long as I can like get Obi off the field or like do enough damage before, that's how I win. The only way he can win is like if Obi sticks. So
did you manage to DJ him at any of the 2 games?
Game 2 I managed to DJ him, I think, if I remember right. Game 1 he had Perilous, so he like stopped it, so he got Obi on the right away, and then I had to do the Han trading. So I managed, like, he felt the need of trading his Obi with my Han in the next round. So that was a little bit lucky in game 1 that he felt the need of it. But in game 2 I got to DJ him, and it spiraled a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's such a nice a small detail of him having the blue base that gives his leader +1 health, because it brings him out of reach of so many threats. I mean, it means, I couldn't maul him as my first action when he flips, because he will survive that. Like, you would have to, I would have to, double ramp to get something out, and then maybe surprise strike him as a first thing. That's what I did when I played him in the Swiss, because I won a game against him in the Swiss. And that's how he did it. Just like you were saying, Adam, kill his Obi-Wan, and then he's
take it from there.
His only way is to restore and restore and restore. But
and that's why the Pau City was so brilliant, because if he had played a 30 HP base, I don't think he would have made the cut.
No,
because there is so much easier to take the Obi-Wan, and since he knew his deck so well with all the restore, he knew that going down 4 HP versus the aggro wasn't that bad compared to having the Obi-Wan alive versus all the mid-range and late game. It was very, like, I had actually basically never seen that base. Like, I thought it was Security Complex first when I walked around. When I saw you guys play first game, I was like, oh, Security Complex. Okay, it's like, it doesn't look like that. Big
really
shout
nice.
out to him to take it to the final with that deck.
All right, so then you ended up with your second playmat.
Yep, and second token, but that's a top 4 thing. So and a second set of Tranquilities.
Oh yeah,
such a usable card.
Such a usable card, and
maybe it's been in some PQ winning list. So
it's not the worst by any means, and it was like about a little bit more than 2 Twilight of the Republic boxes as well in pricing. I think like, to backtrack in Oslo, they really try to make it instead of having this mega top heavy price, which I prefer usually because I'm in the top, but I think they did a good job making that everyone felt that they got value for their money. I think everyone left with at least 5 packs plus some promos. At least half of your entry fee was actually in boosters. So like, of course, it means a little less to the winner, but like, and the top and the finalists and all of that. But like, it was, I think, the general mass of players left very happy.
Yeah, agree.
All right, then we have finished the report of the day and already finished the first hour. So I guess we will keep the spoiler talk very, very short.
Yep.
And also I have to mention PQ season, even though it's over in Scandinavia, is not fully over yet. Next week, or this Friday, I'm going to Zurich to not play, but cast in person for the Two Moons PQ. So that's going to be super cool. And
they have been hyping that for a long time.
Like, since the announcement.
It was like, I know when you were contacting us like that, I'm like, okay, it's happening. Like, it still hasn't happened. Like, I had no idea then that it's like basically they chose the last week of the PQ set basically to play it on.
But
I think that's cool.
The dates get assigned from FFG, right?
Fair enough. But like that was also pretty good. Like, for hyping it, they had got a lot of time, and like you and Thork, who's going to cast it, really gets to have full knowledge of the meta, and like you can be a little bit like read up on what's going to happen and not take everything on the fly. I think it's going to be really cool.
So really looking forward to it. Hope to see you guys in the comments.
Definitely. We'll tune in.
I will tune in on the car. I'm moving the same day, moving cities. I will try to tune in the car unless I'm driving.
Adam is scheduling the lunch breaks and the dinner breaks for the top cuts and for the matchups.
For Jonah's and Thork's breaks, basically.
Exactly.
And then actually we have another thing I think we should shout out: the Stars Unlimited Malmö Open qualifier.
Yes.
We haven't talked that much about it on the pod.
I mentioned it last pod a little bit. But
that's on the same day as Milan, sadly, but still a very great timing at the beginning of Jump to Lightspeed. So that's going to be super cool.
They had planned the date and announced it before the sectors were announced. So like, there was no way they could have known. And they actually got some price support from Asmodee and FFG, so they could definitely have said something. But they I think it's really good. Like, it's nice. It's for us in Sweden. It's nicer to just go to Malmö. I think it's cheaper for most. You don't have to. Maybe you can do it over a day at least. Which will be harder with Milano. And like, I know the really good price support down to top 16, like very, very good. Winning is like 7 boxes and like something more. Plus you get invitational to like a free ticket to the Malmö Game Week as well. That happens in August, I assume. Like, it was.
I mean, we were the three of us were there last week. It was a super nice tournament.
Last year.
Last year.
Only 2-day event so far in Sweden, which is really nice. I hope it's the same next year.
Oh shit! I totally forgot it was a 2-day.
It was,
which was really nice with the losers bracket tournament in the not the losers bracket, but another tournament like when the top cut went for the next.
Best of the rest is what they call it, right?
That's what we named it. I was in the planning. I should.
All right. So then on these tournaments, we will have some new cards. And
I will also just shout out that the Mana Torsk that we always talk about, they have announced theirs at 12th of April as well.
That's the Cantina Brawl 3, right?
Yep. That it is. Okay. So that's coming up as well. It's going. We
don't know the price support for that, but what we do know is that they are usually great with price support.
Yeah, rumors that they want to drag even more players this time, which means probably not worse, like price support if you want to drag more. but we don't know yet. We just know the date.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I think we have. Let me do a quick search. Almost all leaders spoiled right now.
Oh.
Yes, 17 out of the 18 leaders. So we're still just missing one red villainy leader. Right. But it's so fun to see these new leaders and to deck build around them. For instance, Admiral Trench is now the first leader who can deploy multiple times, which is super cool.
Yeah, that looked pretty...
And Steven and I actually talked about we have a set of bases that have when deploy effects. So you can get those multiple times. For instance, if you play them in green, you can get some battle droids.
Yeah, and you can draw cards if you play them out of red I think, every time you deploy.
Yeah. So I think he's going to be pretty cool. Probably now maybe more casual for fun, but if we ever get to a super control heavy meta, I think he could be powerful.
I think that's been their approach a little bit as well with these niche leader like Chancellor Palpatine. Instead, they don't want to accidentally make them too OP because that becomes the only way to play the game. So I think it's smart that they restrict themselves a little bit.
And then also we saw a third or fourth, I don't remember, fire spray. Now a double red fire spray. So it just got me thinking, and I had to build a Boba 3 deck where you can triple dark raid the fire spray on 6, deploy Boba, and then smack the base for 8 twice.
I love the fire sprays. I'm gonna play them all.
Yeah. Any leaders in particular you guys are very excited for?
I mean, it's already been talked about, but the Pau leader seems to be really strong. I know, Jonah, you really like the wedge one. I think the Thrawn one is really interesting. I think it can do some really heavy plays. The really my humble opinion into set 4 is that it seems to be that this set can be quite swingy. There are some really huge effects which can speed up the game and can finish the game with just 1 or 2 actions, pretty much. So I'm definitely interested to see what the new leaders can do, but I'm also quite interested to see what the current meta leaders can do and how well they will face these really fast, actions that can happen with Thrawn, and it can happen with Poe. It can happen with Boba, and with I know Gustav was talking about the planetary what's it called? Bombardment. I mean, could potentially be such a huge play. So, in general, really looking forward to what the meta will look like going into this set and how it will evolve during that set.
So hard to anticipate.
Yeah.
Yep. I have still not dug in completely on this set, but I do remember reading Poe that it looked pretty strong. I think but my initial eyes have gone to Thrawn because I think that's such a cool effect with claiming the when defeated stuff. But I think every leader that deploys on 5 or earlier is worth trying out because that seems to be pretty good in Star Wars Unlimited. But I really hope Vader is good. I really hope the new Vader is good, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
he seems very interesting, and I really like how you can deploy your leaders as pilots, and you shouldn't oversee that pilots can also pilot vehicles on ground. So there are quite some really, really interesting plays that you can do with ground vehicles with a lot of these leaders. And I think that's something that we will see some off-meta decks, or maybe something will evolve into, having the opportunity to deploy your leaders into ground.
Yeah, I think there is a chance that only the leaders that can be pilots and ground units are the ones being played, because the flexibility is so OP. Like, just being like, oh, I can't, like, there is many times you feel locked out of playing your leader. It's not a good time to go out. But if you have like the opportunity to just go space and just hit something, because like instead, just having that option instead is just like so big, because usually these leaders, when I'm looking at them in first glance, they are not that much worse deploying on ground. They are still pretty strong, but they can also go space and just make chaos.
Yeah, and that's what's, we all know how valuable it is for a leader to deploy and being ready. That's a strong thing. That's one of the really good things about the leaders, that they come in ready. But we also know how extremely strong a hotshot blaster or a surprise strike has been in this meta. And essentially, well, you don't get the same effect because you need 2 actions. But what you're saying, Adam, is, I mean, if they have a big sentinel in ground, maybe it's not the right time to deploy it in ground, because you won't go through to base. But however, you can get a huge effect in space instead. So absolutely agree with that. It's going to be really interesting.
And that is definitely the case. Next set's going to be super interesting, and we're only going to hear more about it moving forwards now, having a pretty big chunk of the set being spoiled.
I've just like, and it looks like some of the legendaries are pretty strong, at least, which is nice. I think there should be some chase legendaries there.
It seems like the set 4 is much more equivalent to what the set 1 was in terms of power level and staples. Like, it seems like maybe that's the recipe that they're going for. Every third set, like everything that starts the year is going to be stronger.
If that is an intentional strategy, I really like it, because that's the cards you're going to play the most. And like when things like when set 1 rotates out, there is still a staple. Like, there are 2 staple sets then in 4, like 1 and 4 in those. Like,
agree.
So I think that's a very smart design space if that is what they are trying to do.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Then I think it's time to wrap up this a bit of a longer episode, but it's been a blast having you on, Jakob.
Thanks a lot for having me, and sorry about the blabbing.
No. Like, when you get a world champion on the podcast, of course we're going to maximize the time,
Yeah. And again, congrats, Adam. Also fun to hear about your second win now.
Yeah. Sadly, no more PQs to conquer, so let's go next season.
Just join me to Zurich.
Oh yeah, it's on the move. Yeah, I'm just saying, I can't help move.
There's something's come up. I need to go to Zurich.
It's probably smart to stay.
Get the move in order. Yeah.
All right, then we'll see you in the next episode.
May the force be with you.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Welcome back to another... I almost forgot the name of our podcast for a second. Okay, let's do it. Welcome back to another The Nordic Takedown episode. Damn, I had to struggle.
It's a good start.
Third time's a charm. Third time's a charm.